Hey there, my name is Greg, and I help people cut back on their drinking. If you have ever done hard exercise or have been or consider yourself an athlete now, you know what it means to tolerate discomfort, to overcome discomfort. And so what I'm going to do in this video is explain how you can use those skills that you've developed as an athlete managing discomfort to actually manage your drinking. So the first thing that I want to do is talk about a little bit about the science behind the discomfort of exercise. 20 or 30 years ago, it was thought that the reason we slowed down, I'm going to use the example of a runner pushing himself, let's say in a 10K race, for example. And let's imagine this runner goes out hard, and halfway through, 3 miles into it, he's having a hard time. What makes this runner slow down or stop? 20 or 30 years ago, it was thought that the buildup of byproducts of metabolism in the muscles were the problem, like too much lactic acid made the muscles kind of shut down, or the depletion of glycogen, which is the fuel in our muscles. We ran out of gas and just had to slow down. And really the thinking was that the physiology of the muscles somehow got affected by the continued overexertion and made us stop or slow down. And that approach, or that thinking about exercise, has been changed, and now it's generally accepted that the slowing down happens entirely in our brain. So certainly as we do exercise, lactic acid builds up. Our energy starts to be depleted. But in fact, it turns out that even the most dedicated hardcore athlete slows down long before those things reached kind of their physical limits. So what happens is our nervous system is always monitoring what's going on, and it's sending this to our brain, and there's parts of our brain that are really invested in keeping us safe. This is all a subconscious, autonomic thing. And they notice these buildups, and they actually start to tell us to slow down long before there's actually any real problem there, but long before we're in danger of running out of fuel. And so many clever experiments related to pacing and so on, where they've kind of seen that there's really little to do with the physical limits. It's more the perception of the physical limits that makes a difference. And what happens, how an athlete becomes a tough athlete is he or she goes out and puts himself up against these boundaries, runs hard, feels the urge to stop, and keeps going. And you do that a few times, you realize, man, I can really endure a lot of discomfort and nothing happens, I don't die. And you keep doing that over and over, and you get tough. You realize that these signals that your body sends to stop don't need to be paid attention to, that they're not a big deal necessarily. And so why do we do that? Why do we choose to endure that discomfort? And there's really two things that happen. One is we have the realization, okay, this pain now is creating benefit later. Whether that's purely health benefits, if I just continue this easy 5K run, I'm going to burn some calories, going to lose some weight, going to be good for my brain and my heart, I'm going to be more healthy in the future. Or this exertion, this suffering now, this pain, discomfort now is going to help me be faster so I can do better in the race that I want to run in 2 months. But it goes further than that. One thing about that that's tricky is a lot of times in our life we find ourselves making a balance or a trade-off between something now and something in the future. And generally we often go for the thing now, whether it's the drink now and to heck with the hangover later, or the avoid the suffering now to heck with the benefit later. We're really hardwired, I think, biologically, evolutionarily, to choose the thing in the short term. So when we push ourselves with exercise in view of some long-term gain, we're going against that. Obviously we can do it, but often we don't. But what also can happen in the case of exercise is we assign a sense of meaning to the discomfort that we experience. And you say, this is who I want to be. I want to be the person that can push himself, that is willing to experience discomfort. I want to learn about myself. I want to learn what happens when I face discomfort. And so not only are we exercising suffering now to get a benefit in the future, but we actually are creating meaning and getting benefit in the moment, motivation in the moment for our suffering. That's pretty handy. So let's talk about what's going on in the situation of drinking against your will. So if you're drinking against your will, having drinks you don't want to have, it's not because you've talked yourself into it, because the drink salesman won the argument. There is a debate that goes on in your head, but you'll notice that all too often the drink salesman wins, and he wins with really stupid arguments. So the battle is being fought elsewhere, and it's very much analogous to the exercise situation. So let's talk about that. There's really so the factor that's making us drink is emotion, is the discomfort of some emotion that we're experiencing. And there's really kind of two categories. One is we experience like negative emotion. It could be frustration, irritation, anxiety, nervousness. And we want that to change. If you think about the phrase, take the edge off, all those things I just mentioned are all sort of what goes to make up the edge that we want to take off. So we kind of know we have an edge and we want it to go away. Typically our insight doesn't go deeper than that. And then on top of that is we experience an urge to drink. Very often when we feel that edge and it's 6 o'clock on a Friday, our brain has become programmed to know that, oh man, a drink's right around the corner, and that's good. I like that. And we have a habit around that. And so when we experience the cues for the habit, our brain says, oh man, the reward's coming. And what it does is it puts a shot of dopamine into our brain. One part of our brain puts a shot of dopamine that affects another part of our brain, which keeps us motivated to get the drink. It's like, man, the opportunity's right around the corner. Don't screw this up. Go get it. Follow through, because this is important. And so there's these two sets of emotions going on that make us want to drink. One is the bad stuff that we want to change, and the other is the urge. And the thing is, these also are, in the end, they're reflected in our physiology in the same way that when we run hard, it affects our physiology. When we think thoughts that create stress, or we experience stress, I'll say, or when we experience an urge from the dopamine related to our habit, that affects our physiology. And parts of our brain see those signals and say, okay, get a drink. It's just like the signal, stop running. But the difference is that when, in the case of exercise, the signals are they're very clear, they're very unambiguous, they're in our face, and they're pretty strong and potent. But in spite of that, we can choose to ignore them for the reasons I mentioned, the trade-off with the future, the meaning now. But in the case of the sensations and the signals related to this negative emotion I talked about and the urge, mostly we're not really aware of it in a physical way. And so the key, the solution that I want to offer you is to become present with and aware of the physical experience of the sensations of that negative emotion and that urge. And I'll put a link down below to some other videos where I talk about the technique of how to do that. I don't want to get bogged down in that here, but I just want to tell you that that's important. And when you do that, though, what you'll find is that these sensations are very modest. They're very mild. They're very easy to handle. They're not near as potent as the serious discomfort that you get from hard exercise. And it's good news. You'll see, like, man, I've been doing this behavior that I don't want to do, like drinking against my will, in order to make this little subtle discomfort in my guts go away. And it starts to become almost a little bit ridiculous. And I don't mean that in a way for you to be mean to yourself, but just to realize, oh, I don't have to solve this problem. This problem is just a signal, and it's obviously not correct, because the better thing for me right now is not to drink, and I can be with it. And secondly, we could actually go farther and assign meaning to this discomfort in the same way that a tough athlete has assigned a sense of meaning to the suffering they experience when training. The way I frame this for myself is, I want to be a person who is willing and able to experience any emotion. And I've made it meaningful in my life till I notice, oh man, I feel kind of bad right now, and I can handle it. I don't need to solve it. I don't need to make it go away. And part of that meaningfulness is because I've adopted a philosophy of what I think is a recognition of reality, that we're not supposed to be happy all the time. That the human condition involves, you know, a large chunk of our time feeling kind of crappy, whether it's stress, whether it's serious meaningful stuff or just more minor negative emotion. It's just there. And so when you can then say, okay, this drive for me to drink, this anxiety that I want to solve, and this urge that I want to resolve, I can perceive it in my body as some signals, and I know that they're not that I don't have to obey them. It won't hurt me. And further, I can make it meaningful that I'm a person who is willing to let these symbols or signals and these feelings be there. Then you start to get authority over your drinking. So that's what I've got for you. If you can run hard, you can manage your drinking. And this applies to junk food, to overeating, to any kind of behavior change. So if you've got any questions, down below there are going to be some links where you could contact me. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're intrigued by this, and if you, in particular, if you're tired of looking for help via videos like this to solve this problem, and you'd like to just get it done, to solve it in a fast, reliable way with the help of an expert, that's what I do. And so also there's contact info down there where you can contact me for that. And the next step is to set up a free consult call where we talk for an hour, and I'll try to get an understanding of your situation. If I can help you, I'll tell you what my process is like and how it would help you solve your problem. And we talk about what you want, what that solution would be. And you can hire me if you want. So I'd love to interact with you in any capacity. And so, so that's it. Thanks for your attention, and have a great day.